Chapter 9. Punked. A couple days after being sworn into the bar, I pull my Jeep into the only empty parking space in front of the Gloucester District Court building. "That's a good sign," I say to Philip. "I hope so," he replies, as he puts his wallet in the glove compartment for safekeeping, in case he doesn't come back out with me. Even though he's a man now, over 6 feet tall and stocky with thinning hair, I still see my little brother, the skinny, freckle-faced 5-year-old redhead. And I can tell he's worried. He has that same look on his face he had when Walter, our mother's boyfriend, found food in his toy box. It was the supper he'd been banished to his room to finish. Walter didn't make him eat it. Instead, he gave him a spanking. "I won't do it again," I heard Philip cry from the next room. I wished I could do something, like rush in and jump on Walter's back or call the police. But I knew my place. Being just 6 years older, all I could do was wait right there on my bed, biting my fingernails until it was over. I wonder if he saw me as having more power than he had, which is, after all, how I saw people who were older than me. Even today, Philip's anger is quiet but palpable. Maybe he resents me for not taking care of him when, after we were split up, heroin kept my mother away from us, or because he, too, was forced to bounce from one foster home to another while she was getting treatment. In the years since addiction took my mother's life, we've had to work hard to stay close after spending so much of our lives apart. Maybe he's bitter about the times I did try to take care of him, when I was a new mother at 17 and didn't even know how to take care of myself. Despite knowing I was never in a position to help him any more than I was able to help myself, I feel the heavy weight of guilt that I couldn't shield him from his life experiences. And now I can't do more to console him. We're not affectionate. But I'm here, and the best I can do is try to keep him out of jail. "I'm gonna smoke a butt," he says without looking at me. "It'll be okay," I say before the door closes behind him, hoping I sound more confident than I feel. Finally alone, I take a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. I'm as anxious as my brother, maybe even more. I wish I hadn't promised I'd represent him, but it's way too late to change my mind. This will be my first time standing before a judge where I'm not the one in trouble, and I was only sworn in 2 days ago. As I watch Philip walk toward the building's entrance, I can't help but think about what could be waiting for me in that courtroom. My hometown has always given me so much angst. I still worry I'll run into somebody I don't want to see. I envy those who look forward to an accidental encounter with an old friend. Then I wonder, who would even recognize me from those years I wish to forget? I was just a teenager, getting money from men old enough to be my grandfather, in exchange for my doing things to please them. They were at fault, I remind myself. I was a child. I'm not even the same person as the 25-year-old who ran away from this place, Fish City, close to 10 years ago. Now I'm a married professional with a new baby girl, child number 3. I take one more deep breath and blow it out before opening my door to the warm, salty air. As I step out onto the pavement, I gratefully note there's no hint of the odor of low tide. It's going to be a perfect early summer day. If only I could get back in the driver's seat and cruise around the back shore with the windows down, like I used to when I needed to unwind. But I made a promise. I close the door and take in the mammoth red brick building before me. It is exactly as it was when I was a child. As I move along the sidewalk to the entrance, I feel like I'm tracing the old footsteps of my past, walking in the shoes I wore when I didn't know my own strength. I pull my shoulders back and lift my chin. I'm a woman now, and I can do this. The front entrance is covered. I walk down the ramp that hugs the side of the building to a sunken plaza below street level. The entire area is made up of the same red brick as the building. Aside from the gray cement patchwork on some of the bricks, It looks the same as it did the last time I was here. As I make my way down the ramp, the sun moves further away. The entryway is as dark and dreary as ever. Philip is standing to the right of the door, presumably on cigarette number 2. "Ready?" I ask as I reach for the large handle on the left side of the tall, black double doors. "I'll be there in a minute," he says. I don't push. Once inside, I take in my surroundings. I'm transported back to 1983. To my left is the police department counter, familiar and unchanged except for the addition of protective plexiglass. I also know what it's like to be behind the counter and to pass by the room where the officers watch live feed of the lower-level cells. That's where they watched me after I was processed during each drug possession or shoplifting arrest, before I was brought downstairs to await my mother or Walter and their wrath. Somewhere behind the counter is also where my mother and I met with detectives who questioned me, a 13-year-old, swollen with poison ivy, about the men, the money, and my involvement in what they referred to as a prostitution ring, with no Miranda warning and no attorney. Assholes, I whisper under my breath, wishing I could go back and say it to their faces. I scan the rest of the large vestibule. The bathrooms are to the right of the police, and directly in front of me are a set of winding stairs that lead to the courtrooms. A court officer stands at the bottom, next to a metal detector. He motions for me to go through as he's done for the others who've gone up before me, not knowing I've been an official lawyer for all of 2 days. I pull out my identification and temporary bar card and hand them to him. He smiles. "You're all set." I feel like I've just gotten one over on the guy as I put my credentials away. My apparent elevation in status feels like the best kind of high. I saunter to the stairs, my heels clicking on the tile floor, and make my way to the next level. On the landing halfway up, I look through the dirty window and catch a glimpse of the harbor. I'm transported again, this time to an apartment not far from here, where the man who arranged meetings between fishermen and young girls like me stood in his second-floor window, watching for boats as they arrived in this very same harbor. The memory, like a needle piercing a balloon, deflates me. The second floor, like the first, hasn't changed a bit, but it looks smaller to me, as things do as we get older. It might also be that I don't feel so alone and powerless anymore. Before today, I'd only ever been here as a defendant or as a child who wasn't being cared for. To my left, at the top of the stairs, is the adult courtroom that was off-limits to me as a child. Back then, while passing the room on my way to the juvenile session, I'd look inside through the open door and marvel at the excitement. The stadium seating was almost always filled, and the judge sat elevated in the center of everything. It was nothing like the juvenile courtroom down the hall, a small room dominated by an oval conference table where the judge sat at my level, just a few chairs away from me. This morning, when I enter the courtroom, I walk directly to the clerk, a middle-aged man wearing a button-down shirt. He's seated in front of where the judge will be. "Hi," I say. "Can you tell me where I can find a notice of appearance?" That is about the extent of what I know I'm supposed to do. "On whose behalf are you here?" he asks while handing me the form. "Philip Brenner." I feel a pang of guilt that I'm grateful for marriage having changed my last name. I'm able to remain incognito. "We're here to remove a warrant." "Okay. Did he check in with probation?" "No," I say. I can feel my insides shaking. "He needs to do that. There's no judge today, not on Mondays. If the prosecutor asks for bail, I'll be making the decision." I smile and thank him. I just need to sit and put my things down. It hadn't occurred to me that there might be a question of bail, since Philip's turning himself in. I turn away to look for an empty chair. This is new to me, too. I'm able to sit in the pen, the area meant for attorneys that is surrounded by a barrier I've never been allowed to cross. Finding an empty chair, I sit as though I've done this 100 times before. I'm sweating by the time I put my bag down. I've just reached for the nearly empty file bearing my brother's name when I hear a man's voice. "What are you doing here?" he asks, sounding suspicious. My head instinctively snaps up to face the much older man who is standing before me. He's as pudgy as ever and still sporting the same comb-over as when I'd last seen him. I recognize him right away. "Holy shit," I say. "Mr. Dunsky. It's my old court-appointed lawyer. He represented me many times when I was arrested as a teenager. He'd also been my attorney when the court deemed me a child in need of services for truancy, when my mother was accused of neglect, and when I asked the court to emancipate me." "I'm working," I say. "You work here?" he asks, his hands in front of him, palms up, looking around as though he's being punked. "Yes," I say, sitting taller in my chair. "I'm a lawyer now." "Really?" He pauses. "You passed the bar and everything?" "Yes," I reply again. "Don't sound so surprised. Although I do remember you telling me that I could just quit school when I turned 16. I mean it as a dig, but I don't think he takes it that way." "Well, congratulations. I'm impressed." "Thanks," I say, feeling a welcome wave of pride. Before Dunsky has a chance to say more, Philip walks into the courtroom. "You need to go to probation," I say, facing him and the audience. "Oh my God," I hear a woman say from a row close to the back wall. "Is that Gail?" I hold my breath and search for the source of her voice. I'm not sure I want to know who it's coming from. That's when I see the familiar face of an old Gloucester acquaintance. Teresa walks toward me. I stand to greet her since she's not able to come to me. "Hey, what's going on?" I ask, wishing to avoid a lengthy conversation. I have work to do, and it's clear that whatever has brought her to court this morning can't be good. Her eye makeup is smudged, her dyed blonde hair is unbrushed, and her clothes are wrinkled. It isn't like her to look so undone. She averts her eyes when she tells me she was arrested for drunk driving the night before. "That sucks," I say. I think about offering to help, but I don't. It's all too much. My head is reeling when I finally sit down, but I don't have time to think about it. I fill out the appearance form and go back to the clerk. As I hand it to him, he directs me to the prosecutor, who is seated at a table just a few feet away. "Hi, I'm Gail Nastasia," I say, extending my hand. He shakes it and introduces himself. He listens while I explain why I'm here. "I'm going to have to ask for some kind of bail," he says. "Why?" I ask, trying not to sound as panicked as I feel. He's been in default for a long time, and these are serious charges. I'll ask for $50 cash. I probably won't get it, but I have to ask. I wish I could convince him otherwise, but I know he's right. After all, Philip was supposed to show up for court 3 years ago. On my way back to my seat, I think about all the reasons I'll argue against bail. Philip is trying to get his life back on track since heroin claimed him just like it did my mother. He's been through so much and deserves a chance to sort this out. Yes, he's charged with assault and battery, but he was acting in self-defense. Though I remind myself that's not why we're here today. We're only here to clear the warrant. If he does set bail at $50, I can pay it. I won't let my brother go to jail. A few minutes later, Philip and I hurry to the microphone when his name is called. The prosecutor asks for the bail and gives reasons for his request. My insides tremble as I wait for my turn to speak. I wonder if I'll remember anything I had planned to say. But once I start talking, I feel a shift inside me. Something strong and brave takes over, and I completely forget about being nervous. It's obvious that Mr. Brenner wants to turn his life around. He came in here on his own, willingly, despite knowing he could go to jail. It would send a terrible message if you were to take him into custody when he's trying to do the right thing. I hear Philip exhale when the clerk agrees to let him go with his promise to return on the next court date. I can't hold back my smile. After all these years, I was able to offer my little brother a small amount of protection. He needed me, and I was here. Not only that, it also seems like I might be okay at this job. Maybe becoming a trial lawyer isn't out of the question.